Hi, my name is Russ. I'm with Zip Solutions, presenting on behalf of Plumber Mag. So welcome. Today we're going to be talking about what the new normal is going to look like when we're done with this COVID shutdown, lockdown experience that we're going through. I personally don't think that this is the end of the change that's going to happen. I think that this is kind of maybe the beginning. I'm not really sure. Don't know how much is ahead, but I know that we're not done with the change. So today we're going to talk a little bit about how to prepare for what the new normal looks like. And so I hope you stay with me. We're going to go through several topics. It's going to be at a very high level. So we're not going to go very deep. We are going to kind of go fast, and we'll do a little bit of review. We hope to keep this to be a relatively short presentation. So stay with me as we begin. I want to talk to you today about 5 different topics. One of them is being positive and adapting. And you can see the others here on your screen. Price and efficiency, your personnel, your marketing, and your sales. We're going to go through these pretty quickly here. But the first thing we want to talk about is being positive. Don't let people around you dump their garbage in your ear. Don't let them run you down. Don't let them discourage you. You have to stay positive about what's going on in this world. So as you're under the stress of what's going on in the marketplace, as you're under the stress trying to maybe what's going on inside your community, the fears, don't let people worry you with their thoughts. Don't let them worry you to a place of paralysis. Don't be paralyzed by your fears. Be motivated instead. Stay motivated. That is the single biggest thing that you can do for your business as a leader, as one of the leaders in your business, is staying positive. You have to think positive. In addition to that, you have to adapt. You must change to the situation around you. A lot of people resist change. I'm asking you to change around you. But as you change, as you stay positive, you also have to stay balanced. So in addition to avoiding the negative people, there's that little thing that sits on your shoulder that speaks in your ear, and you have to stay balanced. Don't be so positive that you assume unreasonable risk, right? Monitor your cash flow, monitor your debt. Don't be overly optimistic. Hope for the best, but I'm encouraging you to prepare for the worst. At the same time, I want you to be positive. You gotta stay positive in this time. Don't beat yourself up. Avoid negative people, even if that's yourself. If you're a negative person, don't even look at yourself in the mirror. Right? I got this COVID hair thing going on here. Don't look at yourself in the mirror if you're being negative. When it comes to being positive, a lot of it is what goes on between these 8 inches right here. What am I thinking? Can I do this? Can I come out on the other side a little bit differently than other people, or maybe than I had hoped? You know, if you think you can, Henry Ford wrote, or if you think you can't, either way you're right. I raised my children on that thought process, that if they thought they could, or if they thought they couldn't, I said, you're right. You can do it. But if you think you can't, then you're right. You can't do it. And if you think that you can't succeed during this time, that you can't come out on the other side better than you went in on this COVID-19, if you think that, then you're right. You can't. But conversely, and thankfully, if you think that I'm going to be better on the other side of this, that when I get through this COVID-19 experience, I'm going to lay a foundation and I'm going to be a better business. I'm going to be a better businessman on the other side. If you think you can, then you're right there too. So if you think you can or if you think you can't, either way, you're right. And you got to believe that in the middle of every single difficulty in life, whether it's a financial difficulty or whether it's a personal difficulty or a business difficulty or this difficulty of a pandemic, that inside of that difficulty lies opportunity. We all know that there is a group of people. Amazon is doing well. Lots of people are doing extremely well right here in the midst of this problem. And so the question becomes is, which one are you going to be? Because if you think you're the guy on the left, or if you think you're the guy on the right, then you're right. You get to choose. I don't want you to be overly optimistic and take unnatural risk or unreasonable risk. But I want you to believe that you can do it, that on the other side of this thing, you can do it. The thing that gets in the way is mullets. Things need to change. Some of the hardest things to change are the things inside of us as leaders, being positive. Things on the external, it's easy for us to say, hey, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to buy a new car, we need to get a new truck, we need to change our marketing. But those things that are inside of us as a leader, the way that we think, the way that we believe, those things that we choose, those are the things that are trying, those are the things that are hard. And that is the single biggest thing that holds the businesses back that I get to speak to, is how do they think? Do they think they can, or do they think they can't? Have they surrounded themselves with people in their business that think negatively, that constantly dump their garbage in their ear, that say you can't do this, you can't do that, you need to change, blah, 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 blah. Don't even look at them, don't talk to them, get them out of your life, clear them out. Cut your hair if you got a mullet. And I know someone on here's probably got one. I don't like them. It's time, move on, right? Move on, let's do something different. That was for pastime. Everything around you has changed. The traffic has changed. Everything has changed. Walmart's changed. The question becomes, can you stay the same? If everything has changed, do you have courage to believe you can stay the same? I don't think you can. I think you need to adapt. Adapt is the exit. Adapting is the key. And so sometimes people need to change. And that's you. And that's the hardest thing to change. There are some things that need to change, though. One of the things that need to change that your customers are expecting, I hear all over the country, is they don't want to touch your device. They don't want to touch your paper. They're a little bit nervous. And so to be able to send them approval from across the room, or maybe across the country, or across the state, across the city, to be able to send a text message, people like to communicate with text messaging. That is a change. I see a lot of people that are still using paper and pencil, and that has worked, but it's not going to continue to work. It's working today, but they're going to be as obsolete as, Blockbuster or the mullet. And so what people are expecting today, just within the last couple of months since this pandemic outbreak, is they don't want you, a lot of people don't want you in their house because they're afraid. The news media has made them afraid. But they also don't want to touch your device. They don't even want to get close to you, but you still need a signature. You still want to make sure that you're meeting those customer expectations and get them to review the work order before you bill them. And so give them the ability to review and to sign and to pay right there on their phone. It's common practice. If you don't do it, somebody else is going to be doing it. Right? Imagine if you went to Walmart and they still had those big old cash registers and the big buttons that they used to push. You probably wouldn't shop there. Right? That's what happens to a lot of the mom and pop stores. These big stores come in with the new processes. The question is, are you going to cut your mullet? Are you going to change? Or are you going to stay the same? That's the biggest thing in here. Are you willing to change your attitude and adapt? Let's talk about price and efficiency. Some of the things that we can work on during this time, some of us are slow. Some areas of the country are slower than other areas. Hopefully that's not you. But if you are in one of the slow areas, if you've got extra time on your hands, now's not the time to worry. Now's the time to prepare. Now's the time to adapt. The thing that you can adapt with here is price and efficiency. And so let's talk a little bit about price and efficiency. I'm going to go into detail, but I don't want to go too deep into this because we could talk about this a long time. But let's get started here and talk about it. If you're looking at this here, we have a model and we'll be willing to help you out with this, but how do you price your services? It sounds like it would be complicated, but it's not. It's just you got to have the key. You got to do it right. It's very simple. It can be done in 20 seconds, 30 seconds. It's going to take me a little bit longer than that to explain it, but it can be done very quickly once you know how. And so it's based on some basic principles that, again, I'm not going to go too deep into, but it's based on your variable expenses. And one of the biggest variable expenses you have are your technician. How much an hour do I charge? Well, if I pay my technician $30 an hour, as in this example, I have payroll expenses. Payroll expenses is usually about 30% more. So if you pay somebody $30 an hour, they cost you $39. So what is your desired margin? Well, in the service world, not the install world, in the service world where I think that most of you are going to reside, but part of your businesses may be in the install department. In the service department, you need about a 60-65% margin to be profitable, to be a going concern. A lot of people are doing 65% and more in the service world. Cleaning drains, replacing drain lines and sewer lines, fixing water heaters and pipes. Those things need a 65% gross margin. So if you have a plumber that costs you $39 an hour, that means you have to charge $111 an hour to get a 65% margin. Now these variables here in yellow can be changed if you want to do that. But the problem is you can't charge $111 an hour. Don't cut off the tape. Keep watching here for a second, because $111 an hour is not going to cut it. If you bill out 8 hours a day at $111 an hour, that means you need to collect $891 for that day. The problem is, if you pay your technician 8 hours, he does not collect 8 hours. He may go out, if he in the service world, and it depends on how you measure time, right? And there's some variable in this, but he may go out and only collect 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, but you're paying him for 8 hours. And so that ratio of how much does he collect versus how much do I pay, that's the labor efficiency. Now, efficiency is how well do I utilize the resources that I have, such as gasoline? How efficient is your car? Well, a car is like efficiency is measured how many miles can I get out of that 1 gallon? If you have a plumber for a day and you're going to pay him for a day, how many miles can I get out of that plumber? Or how many dollars can I get out of that plumber? What's my average sale? So if I'm paying him 8 hours, but I'm only collecting 3.5, look at the bottom. That's our hourly rate now. We only have 3.5 hours to collect $891. That means for that 3.5 hours, I got to charge $254 an hour. I still need to have $891 if I'm going to keep that 65% margin. So here's that same spreadsheet that we were looking at, but this one here, I can actually manipulate the numbers if you need me to. We're going to leave these numbers the same. Trust me, if you're charging $30 an hour, you need to know how many hours a day or a week or a month or a year your technician is collecting. That's a goal that ties it to your profit and loss statement. That's very important that you know how many hours you're collecting, not just how many hours you're paying. Those are two numbers that you have to have. Those two numbers help you calculate your hourly rate. That and your desired margin. This is a service example. If you wanted to do an install example, it has a much different hourly rate over here, as you can see. But I've got a couple other questions I want to show you right here. This is profound. If you're not paying attention, I want you to pay attention here. This is profound. So I want you to, numbers kind of lose people, but I want you to stay with me. If we have a $100 sale, most people in your industry, $50 of that will go to buy labor and materials, right? So half of it roughly goes to labor and materials. That means you have $50 left over for gross margin or gross profit. So half of your money goes towards labor and materials. But you have another 40% or $40 that goes towards overhead for doing things like what you're doing right now. You're doing training. Maybe you're going to attend a wet conference. Those things cost money. They're non-productive, and it goes into your fixed expenses. It has to come out of that sale, those fixed expenses. And it's about 40%. Now, some of the businesses I talk to, they're lucky to be making $10 on every 100. I mean, that's a healthy business. A lot of people I talk to are making 2, 3%. And I'm afraid during this time, people may actually be losing money, right? or not tracking their numbers and knowing what their hourly rate has to be in relation to their variable expenses. So if you do a job for $100, you've got $10 in operating profit. Well, if I do 2 jobs like that, I make $20 in operating profit. If I do 3 jobs like that, I make $30 in operating profit. So this is the model that I see a lot of people doing, is they're like, faster, faster, faster. Let's do more jobs. Can we get another job in today? Can we make 30 bucks? Can we make 40 bucks? Can we make 50 bucks? Faster, faster. Well, that's a new construction model, and it plagues our system. That is not the way to work on your business and be more profitable. Let me show you this. What happens to the profit and loss statement if I think just a little bit differently? If I change my mind just a little tiny bit, what happens differently? Well, let's say that I'm out here on this $100 sale, and I say, Mrs. Jones, would you like some washing machine hoses with that? While we're here pricing, normally they're $150, but while I'm here, they're only $50. And she says yes. So now you have a $150 sale. Well, those $50 wash machine hoses, they cost you $25 in labor and material. About half the cost goes towards labor and materials. That leaves you with a $25 gross margin on your wash machine hoses. But to sell those wash machine hoses, you don't have to pay for any more gas. You don't have to buy another tire. You don't have to buy another software. You don't have to buy any more insurance. You don't have to pay any more rent. And so there's actually no more fixed expenses. Matter of fact, that's why they call them fixed expenses. On these wash machine hoses, it doesn't cost me any more other than labor and materials to install them. So on that wash machine hose, I actually make $25 in operating profit. I made more on the wash machine hoses than I did on the $100 job. Altogether, I made 25 plus 10 is $35, or I made 3.5 times as much profit just by offering wash machine hoses while we're there. You could triple your profit. And I see businesses do this. They triple their profit just by offering a couple products while we're here. That's why when you go into the gas station and you have to almost squeeze up like this to pay the cash register because they got junk hanging all around there. You think about it as just little pieces of junk. That's where they're making their profit, because those are high profit items. It doesn't cost them any more for you to buy that little junket while you're there. And it's something that needs to be, and something that needs to happen. So let me ask you a question here. I want you to pick a number for me. You want to pick 2, 1, 3, 1, 2, or 3? Pick a number. Ready? Think about it. 1, 2, or 3. Pick a number. You got it? Let me ask you a question. And this question is going to be confusing for most of you. But it's a very important question. I want you to analytically think about what I'm getting ready to say. The question I'm getting ready to ask you is going to be confusing, but it has very deep implications into your business. Very deep. Confusing question with deep implications, but it has a real answer. Here's the question. Why didn't you pick 4? Why didn't you pick 4? I said pick a number 1, 2, or 3. Why didn't you pick 4? Why wasn't that part of your selection? The business implications there are huge. They are absolutely huge. The reason you didn't pick it was because I didn't give it to you. You have to be able to intentionally design choice for your customers. It's too valuable. If I could just offer some washing machine hoses, I could increase my profit by 3.5 times. I could work on my hourly rate, but it's not like offering the customer choices. It doesn't move the needle like offering the customer choice. Once you offer the customer choice, some will, some won't, so what? Most people are going to pick the thing in the middle. And the logic for that is they go, well, I don't want the bottom option and I don't want the top option. I'll go with the middle because that's probably the best value. And so you have to be able to quickly assemble options. You have to know what the menu is. Imagine what would happen to the profits of McDonald's if they went in there and they grabbed the menu board and they put it out in the dumpster and they told the girl at the cash register, when a customer shows up, you make up the menu. What would happen to the profits at McDonald's? That would absolutely be crazy, wouldn't it? They wouldn't have any profits at McDonald's. You have to be able to offer choice, and it's got to be simple for your technicians to do it. I've worked through this problem for at least a decade, trying to figure out how to make it simple for technicians in the field to quickly offer residential, light commercial, light industrial customers choices. How do you intentionally design that in a way? And how do you get your technicians to do it? There's an answer there. Customers nowadays, though, are demanding that you have educational tools with you. You know, what is it exactly are you doing? And why the last plumber that came here did that. So the marketplace has moved. The way people are thinking has been changing. It's accelerated with this pandemic, but it's been changing. People are expecting to come there and be able to take their credit card and put it in a machine and walk out with their groceries. They want to be able to do that. And when you come there to fix the issue that their complaint, their demand call, when you get there, they are expecting to be able to pay the same way. They're expecting the same level of service that they're getting everywhere else. You can't go on and not change. You have to adapt, and you have to be willing to change. You have to have that mindset, that leadership ability to take your organization through the change. I fear what's going to be on the other side of this pandemic is there's going to be a lot of acquisitions. Acquisitions is a fancy word for people going out of business. One person buying another person because they didn't change. They're going to buy up their customer base. You have to decide which person you're going to be. Another measurement of price and efficiency is customer retention. I had a long conversation today about service agreements. They were thinking that the service agreements was a profit center. It's not. A service agreement is a tool to retain the customer. If you pay $300, $400, $500 in marketing to get a new customer, customer retention becomes a big part of the equation. How efficient are you at retaining customers? Do you even know? The way to retain customers is through service agreements. You want to keep the price of the service agreement low. Once you start advertising on their bank statement, on their credit card statement every month or once a year, they are not going to call anybody else. They're like, I've been paying you $12 a month and now my toilet's leaking and it's not flushing. You get out of here and charge me money, right? That's what happens. You're like, yes, ma'am, I'll be right there. You know, I'll come right out. And so customer service agreements, we call them scheduled service plans. Service agreements are a great way to retain customers. It keeps the wolves at bay, right? Keeps them away from your competitors. So you need to be able to offer multiple prices. You need to be able to have a 2-price card system in here somehow or another for service agreements. And not all service agreements, all your customers buy them. So property managers, you need to be able to adapt. You know, sometimes you're 1-price cards, sometimes you're 2-price cards. And that's really been the problem with the books and stuff like that used to be in the past before electronics, is that people, you know, that they have a varied customer base. They have property managers, they have commercial, they have residential. You need to be able to do that on the fly, automatically, not depend on your technician. This time I charge this much, this time I show 1-price card, this time I show a service agreement. It needs to happen automatically. Your technician can't keep up with all that, and you can't train new technicians to understand all that, even if you do have an old one around that kind of understands your business. So we've talked about being positive and adapting. We've talked about things that you can work on during this downtime, such as working on getting your price in line, making sure that you're efficient with your services by offering choices, by making sure that you have service agreements, that you're retaining your customers, right? We want to talk a little bit about people. There's a great opportunity, right? In every problem, there's an opportunity, right? And now we have this opportunity to hire people, right? So some people may be traveling, going to DC, you know, and traveling off, and during this time period, they can no longer do that. So you captivate these great people. So you always want to be hiring, you always want to be training, and you want to update your pay systems. You want to have a system that incentivizes that you walk in the same direction that your technician's walking, that when he loses, you lose. When he wins, you win, because it goes the other way too. So you want a system where your technician wins when he does something for his own personal benefit, that when he wins, you win. Like if I work Saturday, I win. Well, you're like, well, I win too, right? I'm gonna give a discount. Well, he should lose and you lose, right? You want to have a system where you're walking in parallel so that the things that incentivize your technician are also the things that incentivize you. That's what it means to walk in parallel like that, to have parallel systems in there. So always be hiring, always be training, and update your pay systems. Update your pay systems. There's a lot of different ways to market for talent, and now is a great time. Bring competition into your organization. Bring it in. Let's be competitive. Let's improve those systems. We're going to tighten that belt, and we're going to bring that into our people as well. Now, marketing. Marketing is something that's important. So you may say, well, I got customers. I don't need customers. I got more customers than I need. I don't need them. Are they the right customers? Are they the right customers? Or maybe some are, some aren't. Maybe you could have more of the better type of customers. What is it in your marketing there that you want to go for? When it comes to marketing, part of it is branding. You have two types of marketing. They kind of go hand in hand a little bit. And one is branding. What is your brand? And that is, you can see here is a couple examples I got off the internet. And if you're one of them, thank you. But if this is your brand, what is your brand? It causes thought processes to arrive in people. The colors, the way that it's laid out. Are you branding green? Are you branding low price? Are you branding speedy service maybe? Are you saying that I'm local? What is your brand? And can you communicate that brand on your vehicles? Can you put that brand into your ads, right? So that's branding. You need to spend money on that. Maybe 5, 7, 10% of your money, depending on where you are. That's not a hard figure. Don't use that and say that I said that. So you need to spend money on brand, but you also need to spend money on call to action. There's no sense in calling people to action if you're not ready for action. So you should know who you are. That's your brand. And you should know that brand should be attracting certain types of customers. I'm attracting customers that are in a hurry. I'm attracting customers that want to make sure somebody that is safe comes into my home. I want to attract somebody that's green. What is your brand? Maybe I'm attracting somebody that's local. So a brand has something to do with what you're attracting. What marketplace are you in? Once you establish that, and a little bit at a time, you got to know who you are so that you can communicate that through call to action. There used to be a thought process that you would spend 8 to 10% of budget on marketing. And I'm like, why? That's a dumb idea. You like my squeaky voice? That's a dumb idea. And the reason it's a dumb idea is because if you gave me $1 and I gave you 10, how many times would you do that? Right? If you said, well, Russ, I only got a budget of $8, and I'd go, okay, here's 80. Would you give me another $2? Would you give me $100 so I could give you 1,000? Would you give me $1 million so I could give you 10 million? What would be your budget? If I returned $10 for every dollar you gave me, what would be your budget? There shouldn't be a budget on call to action. That's not how you measure call to action. You need to measure call to action with, is that ad performing? Is that ad performing? You want to know, you have to be able to track it. And in today's marketplace is different than it was, just a few years ago. I still have people saying, well, we asked the customer. I'm like, the customer doesn't know what ad they clicked on. The customer has no idea. You can't be asking the customer. So you have to be spending that money blindly and maybe in the wrong place. There's a quote from a long time ago. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Ben Franklin or something that was credited with it. Half my money on advertising doesn't work. I just don't know which half. Right? You need to know which half is working. In the modern computer age, you can now tell which ad is working and which is not. You can get rid of the one that isn't or make it better, or double down on the one that is. You have to track it. You have to track it accurately. The way that you do that is with phone numbers now. Remote call forwarding. You have to track your action. It's not enough to have a person. You give them money, you say, okay, fix my website, do some advertising for me, and here's, $5,000 a month, right? Here's $5,000 a month, do some advertising for me. Here's $2,000 a month, here's $1,000 a month, whatever your budget is. You just give them money and you close your eyes, you wear a blindfold. Don't do that. Don't do that. You have to be able to track. They want to track it to, well, I've got you so many clicks and I got you so many impressions. If I wanted clicks and impressions, you could just put up a picture of a naked woman and get a lot of clicks and a lot of impressions, but it's not going to get you any revenue, right? So them telling you they got you clicks, they got you impressions, that is not a way to measure any more than with a budget. So what you have to do is track it to revenue. And that's the question you want to know. I gave you $10. How much money did you make me? Right? I gave you $10 and you brought me $1,000. Well, I'll do that again, right? You would do that again. If you gave me 10 and I gave you 1,000, you say, hey, let's do that again, right? And the only way to do that in the modern age is to track it using phone numbers. That's the common practice. And so what you're looking at here is when your phone rings, you can actually know who's calling, and that PPC down the bottom is pay-per-click. You can know that that came through your pay-per-click manager, or you can know that that came through Google Guaranteed, or you can know that that came from Yahoo or Facebook. You can know that it came from your old phone number. You should know those things. Don't just blindly start paying people money or restrict them, saying, well, I'm only willing to waste up to $2,000 and have some kind of budget. You have to efficiently manage your marketing. You have to track it. Now, part of marketing is your systems. While you're doing that, you can't have people answering the phone. Oh, yeah, how can I help you? Well, not today. If you want to call around, go ahead. You need to know what your people are saying. And so you need to record the calls as you pay $300 to $500 to make that phone ring. You want to make sure that it's being answered correctly. You need to have it professionally answered. You need to have some training systems. One of the ways to do that is to let that phone call be recorded and then listen to it every once in a while. Maybe even grade it. There's lots of things that you can do on that system. Grading your calls, being able to click that call when it comes in and instantly tell this is where they came from and here's your history, here's what we did last time, here's who your technician was, here's when we'll be there the next time. You got to track your closure rate. How many calls am I closing? If I have an ad and that ad goes out there and it generates 10 calls, but the people in the office only book one of them, is it a success? You got to be able to track that. If the technician goes out and sells it for $50, is that a success? Are you having a successful marketing campaign if a third of the calls aren't closed by the customer? If a third of the calls aren't closed by the technician, is that a success? You have to know the answer to those questions because that's what makes you competitive. If you're like, it doesn't matter, well, then you're not efficient. We know what happens to inefficient businesses. Right? We have to be efficient, So we've talked about being positive and adapting in this changing world that's not finished changing. We talked about some things you can work on, like your price and your efficiency. We talked about personnel, bringing competition into the working place. We just finished talking about systematizing marketing. We're about to wrap this up here with systematizing your sales process here. And so let's talk about sales, because sales is different in marketing. You know, a lot of people ask me the question, Russ, what's the difference between sales and marketing? I thought they were the same thing. No, they're not. Your marketing spend, a lot of times, the money that you are spending to get the call in. I spent, $1,000 this month, and people called me when their sewer was stopped up or their tank needed pumped. I spent money to get that phone to ring. That's marketing. Sales is what happens after you get the marketing call. And then the sales process takes over from the lead. And so here's an example of a pipe bursting. What happens if you leave this as an estimate? How many of your estimates did you close? What kind of offering did you give that lead? You spent money marketing to generate the lead. The lead's called, people answered the phone, the technician has arrived or the salesperson's arrived. Did you capture that customer with a service agreement? Did you offer them choice? If so, which one? Is your choice designed correctly? Right? Is it? What did you offer them in the sales process? And so what I see all the time, go back to the slide here a little bit, is people blame their marketing for a poor sales process. So they're like, I just need more leads. I need more leads. I need more leads. This marketing campaign's not generating enough revenue. It's only doing 10%. It's only doing 5%, or it's breaking even. Well, that's true. It is breaking even. It's breaking even because you got a poor sales process. It would be doing fine if it was at somebody else's organization. But because you got a poor sales process, you're breaking even and you're blaming the marketing budget. I need more marketing. No, you need to work on your sales process. What are you offering customers? You can't just be marketing for new customers, more marketing to have people come in. You have to work on that sales process. You have to work on it. You have to call to action, right? Revenue. You have to track it to revenue. You got to listen to that call, making sure you're answering the phone right, and you got to track that closure rate all the way down to the end. So kind of in summary here, be positive, adapt during this time. Don't believe that just because we're on a sugar high with this government injected $3 trillion, I can't even say the word. It's so much money, it doesn't even want to come across the lips, right? Work on your price and your efficiency. Take this time, when a storm like this comes through, some branches fall off. Some branches get stronger. Work on your price, work on your people, work on your marketing, work on your sales. Those are the things to do. I want to say thanks for listening. If you'd like more information, stop by our booth. We'll be at the Wet Show. We hope to be right in the way wherever it is that you're walking through. Come by and see us. We're called Zip Solutions. We hope you're going to be one of the ones that are able to adapt and come out on the other side of this new normal. If you call us, mention plumber, and we're going to give you a free half-hour consultation. I really hope that you do the best, and we'll talk to you soon. God bless.